Meeting of the school building committee. It is 6:04 and we're going to get started. Just a reminder that these meetings are being audio and video recorded and then broadcast to the public. So let's go ahead and kick this meeting off. I don't think we've had any additions to our membership matrix. So unless we have, we don't really need to cover that. And I don't believe we have anybody signed up for public comment unless someone else receives something besides myself. So I'm going to turn things right over to Margaret, and she's going to review, let's see, actions from last meeting and a vote from the MSBA.
Yeah, and well, first of all, hello everybody. I'm trying to remember, was Christy at our last meeting? I just wanted to make sure she had been introduced. So can we introduce Christy Prosser? Erin, do you want to introduce Christy and her role in the district?
I'd love to. Welcome, Christy. Christy is the Executive Director of Technology and Operations. She joined us in June, so she's in charge of facilities, technology, operations, food services. So she will definitely be playing a role in the new middle school building project. She is a supervisor of Whitney. So he has been great about keeping her up to date, and she's added to all our lists. So she's here, like me, as a staff member to learn and listen and keep abreast, and has already joined some of the meetings with the consultant. She comes to us from New Hampshire, most recently, and is a photojournalist. So you should Google her name and see her pretty pictures. Christy, anything I missed that you want to say?
You covered it well. It's nice to meet everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Christy.
So with that, I'm going to sort of launch into the agenda. So, and I am, in case you're wondering, sitting in a hotel room, and I've only got one little screen. So Petros is doing all the magic here. So thank you, Petros. So review and meet on the meeting minutes. I'm going to give an overview of the project schedule, and then I'm going to turn over to Chris LeBlanc to talk about the early site package results, the changes to the model school design that are being made as a result of the code and the planning board submission. So why don't we take that down for a second and do the vote on the minutes? Has everybody had a chance to review them? Petros, why don't you take
so
this
used
down
to doing those last. That's so funny.
Do you want to do it last? We can do it last.
I was going to make a motion to approve the minutes, but
No, it's fine. It's just different in the newer agendas. Totally fine. I just wasn't looking for it. That's all. So by all means.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right. Can we have a second?
Second.
Peter Tallman, second.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your virtual hand so they can make sure we take notes.
Petros, can you take it down so that we can see everybody's hands?
I'm going to assume no further discussion.
Whitney's hand is up. Yiska, are you gonna?
Can't remember. Yiska is a non-voting member.
Okay.
Okay, so I have everyone but Kathy, who I know is on. But so Kathy, if you, Camelia just joined too. I'll promote her. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm having that Kathy's abstaining from the vote.
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, do you approve the minutes?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I was like distracted with something else.
That's okay. Thank you.
Great. Okay.
All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, I will say that is so moved.
Okay. So now we're gonna kind of do a context setting. Petros is gonna pull up a schedule. Petros, can you pull up the schedule document? And yeah, there we go. I'm gonna sort of walk through. This is a version, an update of what you've seen before. So, and I hope this format is helpful to people. I find it helpful, so I'm foisting it on all of you. So as you've seen before, there's sort of different lines for different activities. So I'm going to kind of go through them top to bottom. And you can see across the schedule how these things have some relationship to each other. So first of all, with the MSBA, I just want to say that we have returned, the MSBA has returned the funding agreement to the city, and it's been signed, and now it's going back for the final signature at the MSBA. So thank you. It's a major milestone in the project. Their next activity will be reviewing the 60% CD package, which the team is in the process of reviewing. And they do take this, underestimates their time. They do take about 6 weeks to do that. We showed it basically as the month of September. So that's what they're up to. So the consultant team has been crazy busy, I just want to say. At the beginning of August, the 60% construction document set was sent to the estimators. We are expecting those estimates back tomorrow, and we are cautiously optimistic about them. The estimators take about 3 weeks to review them. So at the end of August, we are going to be looking at the estimates and reconciling them, because we're actually now at the end of August. We have a meeting on Monday to kind of review and reconcile the estimates. And then right after Labor Day, we're going to be submitting, making our next submittal to the MSBA, which is the 60% CD submittal. Now the good news is, unlike the other submittals to the MSBA, you do not need to vote on that. And it is not timed to a certain MSBA schedule. So we have a little wiggle room, but the goal is to send it right around the end of August, early September. And then at that point, the design process is continuing. Basically, there's a period from now until late November when the final construction documents are being completed. And during that period, the design and consultant teams are going to be doing what's called pre-qualification of general contractors and pre-qualification of filed subbidders. This is a process where we advertise the project is in the works and what qualifications are required, and we take in applications demonstrating capacity, and it is an opportunity to review and confirm qualifications. Only those filed subbidders and GCs who are pre-qualified can then bid on the project in November. Now, the goal of this is not to reduce the number of bidders. In fact, we really want to encourage bidders, but the process has proven to be one that is, I don't know any other way to say it other than that it's bureaucratic enough that if someone's going to take the time to do it, they often kind of meet the qualifications. This process has been in place for decades and decades in the state of Massachusetts. It's quite unique. So the team will be doing that. We're not going to involve all of you, but there will be a couple members of the city involved. Probably Sean and Whitney will be involved in that process, and Jamie as well. And then sometime in early to mid-October, we'll get back the comments from the MSBA on the 60%, and we'll be responding to those. So that's what the consultant team is doing. The consultant team has also just made several permit submissions to various city departments, including the planning department for site plan review and also stormwater permitting. So there are several meetings noted here. The first site plan review is going to be September 12th. Right after it, there is the stormwater permit hearing. We think that the stormwater permit is probably only going to need to be heard once, but the site plan review typically does have a second hearing. That meeting would be on October 10th. Typically, the site plan the site plan review board would meet later in September, but that date actually conflicts with the local election, so they will not meet until early October. Hopefully that will only need 2 hearings, but it's possible there would be a 3rd hearing. So this is standard city process. I just want you all to be aware it's going on. And if it's helpful to get notifications about those meetings, we're happy to send them out. So the middle school building committee, so this group, so here we are, we're meeting tonight.
I think it would be good to send out an email with all those dates, just so that if anybody wants to attend,
Yep.
they have the option.
We can do that.
Thank you.
So here we are tonight. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got a meeting. We've got this estimate coming back. So what we want to do is have a meeting to review the 60% estimate. And I think we concluded that it was going to be hard to have a meeting next week to review that because of the impending holiday. So we tentatively set this meeting for September 7th. But once we have completed the reconciliation on Monday, we will send out a notice of where we stand for the estimate. So that meeting on the 7th is kind of to look at the whole package of what's going into the MSBA. Then we have a couple of other meetings scheduled. We haven't entirely established the agendas, but I believe on the calendar, we've got a meeting on the 21st, September 21st, where at least at the moment, Mount Vernon Group is proposing to present exterior finishes. Where there's a date we're holding in October 5th for a meeting, and then a date on October 19th. So for the moment, I want to hold those meeting dates, and we need to kind of program what makes the most sense for those meetings. It's possible that we won't need all 3 of the meetings, but we're going to hold them for the moment. So on the design review process, there was a very good meeting a couple of weeks ago with on the security aspects of the project that included the fire department, the police department, and the district. There have also been there's a pretty detailed design review meeting yesterday with Whitney and Sean, and I know David was able to attend, and Mark was invited but could not attend, and I wasn't at that meeting, but I think it was very productive. And Chris, you may want to talk about that a little bit when I turn the floor over to you. And then we are anticipating making a finished presentation, which this is sort of looking at all the interior finishes, first to the district, then to the building committee. So we haven't scheduled that meeting, but I would say, late September is a good time for that. And then, the really great news is that we are about to start the demolition project. So I've added a line here at the bottom to indicate that we'll be having a kickoff meeting with American Environmental right at the beginning of September. And then there will be a weekly construction meeting. You all are not expected to attend. I just want you to know, like all of these other activities, that's going to be ongoing starting in the beginning of September. And the folks who are involved with the demolition and early package will be bringing updates back to the building committee. So I'm going to shut up for a minute. Petrus, you want to take this down for a minute? Because I want to just see if anybody's got any questions before I turn it over to Chris. Aaron has a question.
Sorry, I was helping someone get in, so I missed this, but you said we'll tentatively keep 3 meeting dates, but I saw 4 on the calendar. So which are the meeting dates we're keeping?
Well, I would keep all the ones that are in the calendar right now.
Okay.
That's just reflecting what's in the calendar. But I just
9/7,
wanted
9/21, 10/5, and 10/19.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for clarifying.
We may not need all of them, but I want to sort of have it in your calendar so we're not trying to reschedule later. We're coming, in some ways it's a very intense part of the project in that the design team kind of has their heads down trying to make sure that the construction documents are very strongly coordinated and biddable. But at the same time, because this project is moving so fast, it's entirely possible there are going to be issues that come to the surface that are like, we should bring this to the building committee to get their input. So that's why I want to hold the meetings right now. David, do you have a question?
Yes, Margaret. Just to clarify, we were saying, at the meeting we had yesterday that the bid reconciliation was next week, but you're saying it's going to be, what, the week after, in 2 weeks?
No, the reconciliation is Monday. But then we're basically in the week just before Labor Day. So ordinarily, we would have scheduled a meeting for next Thursday to kind of report to you. But because it's the Labor Day week, we moved it to the following week.
Oh,
So
I got you.
it's essentially the first Thursday after Labor Day, after the reconciliation.
So just our meeting that's changing. All right, gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. But I will give you a written report about the estimates. You will not be waiting till the 7th to hear about them.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so David, you got to put your hand down.
I'm trying.
Okay, so I'm going to turn the floor over to Chris at this point because the rest of the meeting is really updates from Mount Vernon Group. So Chris, take it away.
Sure. Petros, if you can relinquish the screen. All right. So everybody can see that?
Yep.
Excellent. So, as Margaret said, we've been pretty busy over the last month or so since we last met and actually touched on quite a bit I'm going to speak on. So we're continuing to move forward to meet, the project milestones that we have in the schedule with department, city, and district meetings, compiling our 60% submission to MSBA, which we will submit electronically next Thursday, the 31st. And then they'll have, when they get back from the holiday weekend, they'll have plenty of time to review that. So that's going well. We're getting all our updated documents from our consultants this coming Monday, Tuesday. As Margaret mentioned, the early site package was bid in mid-July, and then we received the bids on August 2nd. The lowest bidder is local to Holyoke with American Environmental, and they were approximately $2.5 million under our estimated budget, so that looks good. I've been in communication with the president of American Environmental. They're very eager to get going. They're excited about the project. So we're going to submit the contract to them. They are currently starting to assemble all their paperwork to submit to the design team for review and start getting their permit applications in order. So we're tentatively looking to do a kickoff meeting right after the Labor Day holiday. And then we'll meet on a weekly basis with our consultants, the OPM, and the contract to make sure everything's moving along at a good pace. That work, they'll be starting in early September, right after the kickoff meeting. So they'll start securing the site, et cetera. I've been informed by Sean and Whitney that it looks like the existing Peck building is really cleaned out. So hopefully we don't need to issue any information to the contractor. It should be all ready to go under the time frame we set. We will be submitting the 60% construction documents next Thursday on the 31st. So that's looking good. We should be receiving our estimates either late today or first thing tomorrow. And then our reconciliation meeting will be next week. That'll be on Monday. A few hours to get through that process. As Margaret mentioned, we are hopefully optimistic in that we're at least maintaining our numbers, but we're hoping to get them down a little bit as well, bring some good news to the building committee. Over the past few weeks, we have met with various city and district departments to review various aspects of the project design, and then further obtain input and some clarification on the model school system. So keep in mind, this is a model school. The basis of design includes all those model school systems, the mechanical, electrical system, security plans, et cetera. And the meetings have resulted in some very good input. For example, we met with Whitney and Sean and our engineers to discuss the building's mechanical and plumbing and electrical systems, how those are going to work. We've talked about dual fuel capabilities to meet the city's gas requirements, putting the solar panels on the roof and potentially talking about battery storage that we can utilize to help create efficiency with those systems. So I think Whitney and Sean would agree that the positive results, the systems are in line with their expectations and what we've aligned with the model school basis of design. We met with the food service group, including Christy Prosser, to review the kitchen. Their consultants and their staff provided some really good insight. At our first meeting, they held a follow-up meeting, and then I believe we're going to have another follow-up meeting in the coming week or so. Everything looked pretty good. They've asked for some adjustments to meet their food process for the middle school project and how they deliver food to the students and staff. So that's going pretty well. We're going to meet with them one more time, and then that
Chris,
should
could I
take care of that.
interrupt you for a quick second?
Absolutely.
Thanks. So I'm assuming you met with folks from Seduco,
Yes.
who our current contract is with. I would like to maybe meet with you offline. I would like to hear a little bit more about that meeting and their plans. We haven't really talked about the kitchen much, and I want to just ensure that we're setting this up to be like, so that they're actually like cooking more food than they do at some of our buildings. And it's not that they don't want to, it's that some of our buildings aren't set up well for them to be able to, like genuinely cook food. So I just want to like hope that we're looking at our kitchen to be a healthy kitchen, a smart kitchen. We're talking about possibly growing vegetables in the courtyard or something like that, and incorporating that into like a science environmental class and culinary, so I just want to ensure that we're not filling this kitchen with convection ovens and microwaves, and that we're hopefully, I would just like to learn a little bit more about how the kitchen's going to end up being set up. So I don't know if that's something you guys are going over in the design subcommittee meetings, or if that's something that I could just get a little bit more information from offline.
Sure. And Aaron, we'll certainly include you in our next follow-up meeting if you'd like to fully understand and ask questions from both our consultant, right?
Yeah, as a school committee rep too, because we deal with the contracts with Seduco and everything. So it'd be I would like to see what that's progressing like.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, that went well. We'll have a follow-up meeting. Again, the kitchen is sized for the student population as part of the model school. So, the location and layout gets to be tricky, but I think there was some good input to make adjustments where we can, so that it flows well, not only from a prep standpoint and a cooking standpoint, the students coming in, getting their food, and then exiting out to the cashiers. We also held a security meeting, police department, fire department. Superintendent was part of that. The district representatives, I think we had an assistant principal, Tom Drohan, participate, as well as facilities and whatnot, and our consultants as well. So we first laid out the site and the building, again, basis of design features, how a typical model school or design would work in modern day security, from a variety of events, community use, being able to block off the academic wings, intruder lockdowns and responses. We had the chief security resource officer from Hoyoke participate. Jeff was very instrumental in providing information and how that works. So we talked a lot about those intricate things. And the basis of design does meet the needs. We're going to make some slight adjustments, and we're going to also have a follow-up meeting. We'd like to get some more detail from Superintendent Soto and some of the other individuals to really fine-tune the operation, from staff and students coming in the morning, how the school is secured during the day and access from different areas. We also talked about how that was meeting our hardware requirements. We had a hardware meeting with both Whitney and Sean to talk about that, how the hardware should work from a maintenance standpoint and matching some of the other schools. So all that was integrated as part of that meeting to make sure that the capabilities and the procedures are meeting the district's policies as well as the functional features of the school. So that went really well. That was probably a 2.5 hour meeting. We'll have a follow-up with some key individuals to get the details worked out. And then we can certainly report back to this committee on those specifics, I would assume in a more closed environment. Overall, everything has gone well to point. Yesterday, we had a really good plan review meeting with both Sean, Whitney, and David Yost attended. We went through all the drawings, talked about the progress, talked about the different features to make sure that we're still in line with not only the model school design, but all the other subsequent meetings we've had with the facilities department and throughout this committee, right? What we presented in the beginning, the flow of traffic, the entry, how students are going to work in and out, how the systems will operate, not only during school, but during the after-school programs. Providing the gym and cafetorium as a warming and cooling center during those events where maybe power's out, we have extreme heat and cold events during the winter and summer. So that all went very well. We're going to continue over the next several weeks. As Margaret mentioned, we're going to be having some follow-up meetings. After the MSBA submits their comments to us, we have 2 weeks to respond. We'll get them the information they need. We'll have those minor follow-up meetings here and there. We're going to make a couple of presentations regarding the exterior aesthetics and materials. And speaking with Dennis Daly today, we've confirmed, the colors and features are going to be identical to the Marlboro School. Nice red brick, very, prominent with some cast stone, some accents, etc. So it'll really fit in nice, not only for the district, but it's close to a neighborhood. So it's gonna be a very nice, New England school design that will fit in and serve the community well. And then I spoke with our interior designer, Susan Taylor, who is going to start preparing, some schemes based on the model school design to get some input, discuss, accent colors, etc. How we can incorporate any school colors that may be prominent with the district. I know Holyoke is, the Purple Knights, for example. So are there other accents that we want to incorporate with that and kind of meet the middle school environment, right? This age group, is going through the adolescent process and everything else. So we really like to look at all that. Erin, question on that so far?
Yeah, it was like right when you mentioned school colors, I'm pretty sure Peck, so like purple would be for the high school, but other than that, each school tends to have a mascot. So I'll get, is Anthony on the call tonight? Is he with us? I'm not even sure. But
yes, I'm here.
Yeah, did Peck have a mascot? And is that something we want to talk about with the community to pick a new mascot in school colors that we could incorporate, or should we go off what they had before to make sure that, if it's a tiger, we could have a tiger painted somewhere, right? Or appropriate colors to go with what their mascot was before. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's been 3 different mascots in the last 10 years. When I was there, they were the Flyers. There's been several iterations of it. So my thoughts is that we're gonna have a small group. I'm gonna have Sarita be a part of that process as well. And any way the school committee would like to engage in that process, I'd be happy to meet with them.
Yeah. And then the other question I was going to ask Chris is, at what point are we far enough that we have enough picture of the expenses so that way we can discuss if we're adding back in the Dingle project? I know a lot of us, really want that project. So I'm not sure at what point that needs to be formalized again, because obviously it needs to be before we get too far, but yet we need to have so much figured out with dollars and cents, I'm assuming, before we can formalize that discussion. So I'm just curious, at what point do we want to be adding that back into the discussion to see if that's something we're going to do?
So that's a good question, Erin. Right now, as we stated in the beginning, the Dingle design is part of the design, but what we're going to do is bid it as an ad alternate.
Right.
So you're going to have the base design of the school and development of that portion of the site. And then we're going to have a separate number in our estimate for the dingle scope of work. So we're going to track that with the whole project right through to putting the documents out to bid. And then we're going to ask the contractor to provide us with a price for the base design and development of the main site, and then an alternate add to include the dingle. So if the base numbers come in very favorable and your budget affords the accepting of that dingle work, that will be up to this committee and we can move forward the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure like chronologically how it worked. I mean, I know we're already like wonderfully under budget for demo, so hopefully things keep trending in that direction. So
yeah, so the nice thing is, as part of this next estimate, we've told the estimators to remove that early site package work. So they're removing the demolition, they're removing the abatement, they're removing some of the fill and prep work that's going to go along with that. So right there, the estimates will be less than the previous estimate, but we've already got some work accounted for. And then with that, like I said, they'll have a number for all that dingle work. So should the numbers become favorable, we can include that. If the numbers come in where maybe it's just out of the reach, you'll still have a design that maybe you could pursue in the future.
right.
But it'll be up to the committee as to how they move that forward.
And those numbers are like in November?
Well, you're gonna see them as part of this estimate we're receiving tomorrow when
Okay, that's
we
what I thought.
reconcile it.
Okay.
So we'll have an
Okay.
understanding of what the overall picture is for both each portion of the project and as a group. So you
Okay.
get a sense of, hey, maybe it's looking like we will get it in or not.
Okay, so just something to look into for future meetings to keep on the agenda, is it? Okay. And I see
Yeah,
Mr.
we'll
Mitchell has his hand up for a question too.
We'll
Right, we'll
we'll
continue
have
to
a
track it.
reading, Aaron, we'll have a reading on this next week.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Next
Right,
week. That's what I was
well,
wondering, like how soon
yeah.
we could like have an idea.
Tomorrow, but you may not hear about it till next week.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought. I knew we were getting numbers tomorrow, but I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure. I just wanted to formally ask. Thanks.
Yeah. No,
Mark?
it's good to keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mark?
just as my wife was walking by when you asked what the mascot was, and she went into some crazy dance, and they were the Squires, and they were green and white, I guess. But anyway, speaking of the paint and some of those type of items, do we have anyone from like the special education department working, to make sure that our neurodiverse learners are, aren't going to be over, stimulated or be able to, function appropriately, in the classrooms and the hallways?
Yeah, so, Mark, we will engage the special education staff as part of our narrative when we submit to MSBA, and I just went through it today, so it's kind of fresh in my mind. We talk about either over or under stimulating various groups of students, right? Providing that balance in various portions of the school to meet that and address that. And Susan has done a very good job, but we'll make sure that we run that by the education group, right?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So we'll get into some of the planned updates, and I'm going to kind of move those last two items around about the next steps. So as this next steps is we're just going to continue to put our heads forward. We're going through the drawings. I've got someone on my staff that is continually checking the work that's being done by our staff and our consultants and coordinating that. After the Labor Day holiday and our 60% submission, we are going to continue to hold like in-house coordination meetings between the architecture, structure, mechanical, electrical systems, and engineers. So that process continues. The updated plans continue to be shared with all of the team, if you will. So we want to make sure that come the bid day, right, the day we're releasing the documents, our documents are as tight and coordinated as possible. Not to say that we won't get questions from the contractors during the bid process, because they always look at things a different way and interpret things, so they're going to look for clarifications. And we'll make those adjustments similar to what we did with the early site package. Contractor may have a question. Hey, this is how I read it. and then we'll provide a response to clarify that to all bidders. So that will continue. The coordination process will continue over the next few months. All of the detail work that we're getting into will continue. We'll have some of those follow-up meetings with city departments and staff. We're going to continue to work with Whitney and Sean from a maintenance standpoint to make sure our documents are addressing those, because it's not just about what we're putting out to bid, but making sure that it's very maintainable and sustainable for the next 50 years. So now I'll get into some of the plan updates that we've got to share. Site permitting and site plan approval process is underway with the city engineer and planning board. Our civil engineer and landscape architect have been in constant communication with Jeff Burkott of the planning board and Chris Baker of the city engineer, talking about not only the site plan approval and the requirements, but also the stormwater permitting process. We do have some initial input from Jeff Burkott as he's going through those, and in discussing that with Chris Amelius today, our civil engineer, they're going to start addressing that for their next meeting to make sure everybody's on the same page. The goal is to make sure we've provided the city departments with everything they need. We're meeting their requirements. We don't want to look for any variances and things of that nature. We want to work with everybody because we want to make it a successful project. We want to get that input and make sure everybody is on board and we move forward in a very efficient way. So we are maintaining, Aaron, to your point, the add alternate. As you can see here to the right, it's got a red dashed line around it. That would be the scope of work that we are looking to bid as an alternate. It's the Dingle area, and then bid that separately. So we're looking to get a good price on that. We did talk with Whitney and Sean. We've kind of formalized in the upper right back area in the custodian to locate some dumpsters for recycling and trash. We've got some parking spaces for custodial and kitchen staff, and then the generator and propane tank locations, right? So we'll have an emergency generator and then propane tank as part of our dual fuel system. These are located right outside the mechanical room, so it's ease of access. We don't have long runs of utility lines, etc. Moving forward, the first floor plan, as well as the second floor plan, quite frankly, they haven't changed a whole lot. The minor changes that we've done since our last meeting was we've increased the science and prep rooms to meet the NSBA standards, the new guidelines, and we've located a storage centralized chemical room on the first floor in the back. It is locked. It is not off the corridor. It's in the back storage area and is only accessed by staff members, right? So through double doors and then into a specifically locked area, keeping things away from student population. Ran this information by the science director when we met with him back in late July. He found that was a very acceptable thing. All staff can go there, do their prep work, and then bring it to their separate prep rooms for distribution into the projects that the science students would embark on. From there, they did indicate that most of their chemicals are, low maintenance. He used the term kind of home type chemicals. There's nothing that you would find in a high school as part of these programs. But as MSBA requires, as these science programs evolve over the next several years, decades, we still have the accommodations to meet any of those. They will have chemical storage closets. They're vented. They will meet the requirements for future evolution of the programs, if you will. So again, the first floor plan, we're still meeting our requirements. If we go to the second floor plan, the science rooms have evolved as well on the second floor. The gym and cafetorium have remained the same, the requirements. What we have done is evolve the custodial and mechanical spaces a little bit more in working with Whitney, Sean, and throughout some of the custodial meetings, determine how the custodial office is going to work the staff lunch is still maintained back in those areas. Working with our mechanical engineers, making sure we've got the appropriate space for boilers and pumps and equipment that's got to go in there. So everything is kind of on track. It meets the model school, might be arranged a little bit differently just to accommodate the district's needs. We do have trash and recycling areas before it gets brought out to the dumpster locations. That is part of our space summary requirements. We still have the kitchen areas worked out. So there hasn't been any evolution, which is good because MSBA wants to see that continuity from schematic design to 60% and through the final design to make sure that the design meets and maintains the model school and the district requirements, both programmatically, square footage, et cetera. So this building is still at a 1.46 ratio. MSBA requires a minimum of 1.5, and even those are somewhat difficult to maintain. So we have a very efficient building, and hopefully that's going to reflect and continue to reflect on the estimates as they work their way through. Elevations, we've made some adjustments to the rhythm of windows and doors to accommodate the layout of the school, meeting the energy code. The new energy code talks about maintaining air infiltration requirements, et cetera. So we're working with our engineers to make sure that we are doing the energy model to maintain those numbers. We've got more than enough windows. They are operable. They will have screens on them so that if they do open, we are not getting insects and things of that nature in. We've talked with Whitney and Sean yesterday to talk about maybe high impact glazing around the first floor to help with, security as well as what am I looking for? Just damage, right? Vandalism, etc. We're talking about how we're going to maintain the cast stone, the brick colors, etc. So right now they're kind of just generic colors, but the cast stone base around the bottom will be natural gray, the red brick, which will be very vibrant, matching the Marlboro School, and then the upper portion with a lighter buff brick to maintain that rhythm and look and kind of break up the aesthetics. But similar to all the other visuals that we've been providing, we're looking to maintain that. We've got some basic locations of rooftop equipment, as you can see on the elevations. The back of the house where the custodial gym, cafeteria, community entrances, how it's all grade entrance, but it will still meet the second floor access within the school itself. And on the rear of the building, you can see that there's still a lot of area, general wall locations from the gym and cafeteria and the kitchen area. One of the things we're changing here that it is not reflected is the overhead door. Due to the new energy code and air infiltration, we're changing out that door and we're going to provide 2 4-foot by 7-foot man doors, personnel doors with a mullion. So there will still be the opportunity to have a larger opening to get product in, et cetera, but it will be a much more efficient process so that we can meet the air infiltration requirements for the new energy code. We don't have all this leakage that you might get in a typical overhead door. So that will certainly meet both the district's requirements and the new energy modeling requirements for all that. From there, that's kind of the update as to where we are trying to meet all the requirements that have been thrown at us on the district and meeting with the staff, et cetera. So we're making some good progress. We're going to continue to move forward and hopefully share with you additional stuff as we go through our next few meetings. Any questions?
I just want to chime in and say, this is a lot of content, and I want to thank Mount Vernon Group because the speed of this has been super fast, and it hasn't been without repercussions in terms of, asking people in the district and at the city to sort of expedite processes that sometimes take longer. So thanks to everybody for keeping the process going. So I see Peter's got his hand up.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. Great detail and explaining everything to us about that. On the rooftop, you said something about the panels. Will they be using the solar panels up there on the roof?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
Peter, so that was part of our discussion yesterday with Whitney, Sean, and David when we did our review. So the goal is we're going to prepare an updated roof plan and get that over to Holyoke Electric and Whitney because I believe they work with a solar vendor. And we're
Right.
going to start getting that in the process to determine what we're going to maximize what we can on that roof for solar panels. And then talk about how that will help reduce the load of the building, the electrical load, and then what we can do for battery storage as well. So over the next few months, we're gonna try and get those discussions moved further along.
Okay, that's great. And you mentioned something about in the kitchen area or whatever with the gas and propane. So
Mhm.
there'll be some propane and some, will there still be some gas with the gas and electric? Will there a portion of the kitchen?
So the kitchen is planned to be all electric to help reduce the
Okay,
gas load.
okay,
So we were told that the city has a moratorium on new gas service, increased gas service, right?
right,
So the goal is in working with Whitney and the Hoyle Gas Company is, the building heating system will operate under gas, right? Gas fired boilers. But when you
okay,
get to those peak demands during the extreme in the winter, it puts a demand on the load. So that gives the school the ability to switch to propane so that the residents in other areas are not affected, right? They'll still get their gas to heat their homes, but the school can switch to propane. We'll have dual fuel boilers, which will be very efficient. So when that demand peak is experienced, the staff can switch over to propane and reduce the load on the city system for a day, 3 days at a time, whatever that need is.
so it's just a transfer over to that type of gas. So,
Right.
so there'll be like the gas, the cylinders like
Yeah, they'll be
propane.
we'll
Oh,
be putting storage tanks, either one larger one or two smaller ones on the site in the back. We're going to work out those locations requirements with the city's fire department. We've already made
right.
them aware that this is coming. So once we have the total size developed from our engineers, we'll determine where a good location is, and then we'll coordinate that with the fire department to make sure all of their requirements are met. It's protected, whether it may be an above ground or buried system.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And typically one of the requirements is those tanks are enclosed in a chain link fence that's locked, right? So you can't get pedestrians in there. So that'll all be coordinated.
Okay.
Chris, I
Any
have
other
a
questions?
question. I saw a post get shared today about this new school, and one of the teachers made a comment about like flat roofs and like why do we keep building buildings with flat roofs because they inevitably leak. Um, how would you answer a question like that?
Well, so Aaron, that's a good question because we get that a lot. The roofs are not flat, so to speak. There is a pitch to them.
Okay.
And that pitch will go to drains, roof drains with overflow capability. So, if there's leaves up there and whatnot, the drains will still work efficiently. Um, the idea of this system is it's very maintainable. The roof membrane will have a 25-year warranty on it. And then this also affords the ability to get the amount of solar panels on the roof, right? It's very efficient, meets code. It's easily accessible for maintenance and service of your rooftop mechanical equipment. Um, it maintains and keeps the height of the building at a reasonable height, etc. So we find it to be very efficient, and that's the way I would explain it. Especially now with the roofs wanting to be populated with the solar panels to the extent possible for sustainable energy generation.
Okay.
Aaron, I just want to add, I think the technology for flat roofs has been through multiple generations, and they do get better over time, like most building envelope technology. The way roofs are installed today is way better than in the previous generation. But it is also true that, flat roofs over a period of time, like any roof, will fail, right? So they do have to be replaced periodically. So I think Chris's answer is all good, but it's sort of also the larger context is the technology gets better, but the building roofs are, it's like windows, like after a certain period of time, you have to replace them, right? So, and people think like, oh, it's because it's a flat roof. No, it's because it's a 40-year-old roof, right? That's why it's failing.
All right. Are we pretty much all set then, I think? Let's see. I don't think we need to review next meeting dates again. We reviewed all of that in the calendar with Margaret, but it is Thursday the 7th at 6 p.m. Anybody have anything else they want to review or discuss, or Margaret, any other things that you need to go over with us tonight?
Nope.
We are right on time. Look at that, folks. 6:54. Pretty good. We estimate an hour, and here we are. All right, great. Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn if nobody
Motion to adjourn.
I will for a second. Mr. Tallman, thank you. Motion by Mr. Lubo, seconded by Mr. Tallman. All those in favor? I'm sure it's unanimous, so I'll just count that. And then if there's any opposed, please say aye. All right, great. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on September 7th. Enjoy the
Happy Labor Day.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.